The number of rapes reported at four-year colleges increased by 49% from 2008 to 2012. And the Center for Public Integrity found that students responsible for such assaults often face little or no punishment. President Barack Obama has made the issue a priority, with more than 70 campuses under federal investigation for violating the civil rights of alleged victims. Earlier this year, two football players from the University of New Mexico, along with a Central New Mexico Community College student, were charged with raping a student at gunpoint. The district attorney later dismissed those charges, but the case is still under investigation by campus officials. Correspondent Gwyneth Dolan sat down with members of the university's Sexual Violence Task Force to discuss what UNM is doing to protect students and punish perpetrators.
And with us today, we have Summer Little, who is the director of the UNM Women's Resource Center and a member of the Sexual Violence Task Force at UNM. Angela Katina is a doctoral student in counseling education who is also at the center and on the task force. Dr. Tomas Aguirre is the Dean of Students at the University of New Mexico and chair of the task force. Thank you all for being with us here today.
Thank you.
Summer, we know that 1 in 5 women is sexually assaulted while in college, and mostly not by strangers, by people they know, and most often they don't even report it. In January, President Obama established the White House Task Force to protect students from sexual assault, and this year the University of New Mexico has also convened the group you are working with. Why, I want to know, do so many sexual assaults happen in the first few weeks of the school year?
Those first few weeks, generally about 6 weeks or so, are referred to as the red zone, and that is because of the increased risk of sexual assault. Generally, it's first-year students who are away from home for the first time, having new experiences, possibly partaking in a party situation where they're not familiar. And also, part of the problem is that predators really target them because of their inexperience and their newness and their unfamiliarity with what's going on campus. So it's a very important time for everyone to be careful.
Mm-hmm. Tomas, over the past year, we've seen a growing number of young women across the country speak out and say they were assaulted on their campuses, and their schools didn't do enough to prevent that or to punish those responsible. So here at UNM, how can you assure students and their parents that the school is working hard to prevent this, that the school is capable of investigating these things and punishing those responsible?
Right. So I think if you look at the sexual assault response team that sort of came into play over 2 years ago.
Last year.
Yeah, last year. The fact that back in the spring, President Frank, Provost Abdallah empowered us to put this task force together on sexual violence, that we had already had been looking at policies, and we had been revising policies also back in the spring. And then, sort of using the McCaskill survey, using data that we've collected from that White House report and trying to measure what we're currently doing or in the process of doing, and then comparing it to other institutions, I feel pretty confident that we're actually above the curve on pretty much everything.
You mentioned the McCaskill survey. Tell our viewers what that is.
The McCaskill survey is a survey that Senator McCaskill sent out, I believe, during the spring, just to sort of set some baselines for different institutions. I think 200, if I'm not mistaken.
I think
350 universities participated in it. UNM was not one of those, but we still took it upon ourselves to look at the survey so we could measure our own progress against the other universities. And so far we've actually come out on top in a lot of those areas.
Why was UNM not part of the survey?
I have no idea. Yeah.
You weren't asked?
No, but we can call Senator McCaskill and check in. Yeah.
Angela, a year-long investigation by the Center for Public Integrity found that students who are found responsible by their schools for alleged sexual assaults on campus can often face little or no consequence from the school. Mm-hmm. And they're very rarely expelled from school, a very small percentage. So I want to ask you, do you recommend that students who are assaulted on campus call the city police in addition to or instead of campus police?
Yes and no. We have our own protocol, so if it happens on campus, you know, they can contact UNM PD off campus, they contact APD. What I recommend is for students to receive the services they need, be it mental health, medical, those things, because for me at least, their well-being is a priority. But we do encourage students to report so that we know we have a better idea of what the climate is on campus and what's really going on. So we do encourage, and I would encourage individuals to report it to whichever law enforcement they feel more comfortable reporting it to, and then they can always help them navigate it more effectively. But first and foremost, I would provide the resources they would need so that their well-being is taken care of first.
Right. So well, why don't I ask you, Summer? Tell me, what is the process that happens if someone is assaulted on campus? What happens? Take us through the series of events there.
Absolutely, absolutely. I do want to mention that there is a choice for who students report to, and that's based on their own preference. But a report to the police will trigger a criminal investigation, and a report on campus with their permission will trigger an administrative investigation. So these things are parallel but not tied together. The criminal side needs to use the standard of evidence, which is beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the level of evidence that they need. The administrative investigation on campuses, we are required to use the preponderance of evidence standard, which is 51%. It's more likely than not that it occurred. So these are two very different things. So when a student reports, they are able to come to a few different places on campus that are confidential. The Women's Resource Center is a confidential reporting site, so they can come in and speak with Angela or myself. We will walk them through the entire process, listen to them, present all of their options, and then they can choose what to do. We do not have to report their identifying information back to the Office of Equal Opportunity.
So it's confidential.
It is, in that limited way. We keep tally marks for how many people we see. So once that happens, if a student decides to seek services, we would start with medical services, depending on how acute the situation is and how recently the event happened. So if it is just happened, we will transport them to SANE, which is the Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner Unit, where they will get a forensic exam. They will also be connected with an advocate from the Rape Crisis Center. These are our two community partners that are working with us on our sexual assault response team, which is just transitioning to the sexual misconduct response team. And then the student would have a choice of whether to report directly to OEO, which is the Office of Equal Opportunity, or to the Dean of Students' office. They can make a report in either one of those places. What happens then is the investigation would happen in the Office of Equal Opportunity. So that's one thing that makes us unique, I think, among all of our peers across the country, is we have put our investigations in the Civil Rights Office on campus because sexual violence is a civil rights issue. So that's the appropriate place for it. So OEO will handle the investigation, and that looks like sitting down with the claimant and getting a statement, which is reviewed, and then they move forward. Then they sit down with the respondent, get that side of it, they interview witnesses, and they prepare a preliminary letter of determination of cause or no cause. If there is a cause finding, that a student has violated the sexual violence policies on our campus, then that finding will go to the Dean of Students' office for sanctioning.
And
if they're found responsible, going back to your original question, they will be suspended or expelled.
Is that a guarantee?
That is, I'm guaranteeing it. Yes, that is a guarantee. I mean, that's just, and I can go back and I can look at previous cases at UNM, and for sexual violence, UNM has a pretty strong record of either suspending or expelling the student.
Let me ask you, why was the name changed, or why is it in the process of being changed from assault to misconduct?
Because we are required and want to provide services for not only sexual assault and rape, but domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking and sexual exploitation, including this really interesting new thing called revenge porn.
Right. So about prevention. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention did a systemic review this year of prevention strategies. And they found one of the things that works best is bystander programs that teach people to speak out and intervene if someone is at risk of being assaulted. Is this one of the strategies that you all are working on?
Yes.
So how will you be implementing this at UNM?
Through all of our training. So, I mean, to take it a step back further, you know, it's been clearly, I mean, if you look at model programs throughout the United States, education is the key piece. You know, it's not more security cameras, it's not more law enforcement, it's educating students what rape is, what consent means, you know, the fact that like you said earlier, that it's not happening, you know, among strangers, it's not a predator hiding in an alleyway, that alcohol and drugs are typically involved. So we've really focused a lot on the education piece and aligning the education that already existed on campus, identifying any gaps, and then providing that education. And incorporated into all of those education pieces is bystander intervention. So it's actually there. And what we've been able to accomplish over the summer is we've been able to identify all of our at-risk student populations on campus, and we've now been able to provide them with that training. So we're talking about Greeks, we're talking about student athletes, we're talking about students that live in housing. They've all gotten the training. And at the beginning of the summer, there were only 2 people who were able to provide that training, and they're sitting here at the table with us. Now we have more peer educators. Now I'm a part of that, and a lot of other individuals are a part of that. So we're getting that out there, and students are getting it consistently, and hopefully it's sinking in.
So what are some of the messages that you're giving to, Summer, let me ask you, giving to young women about how to stay safe and prevent assault?
I think a lot of what we need to help young women understand is what sexual violence is. We are at a point in our culture where young women consider violence and harassment that is perpetrated against them as normal, and that's a problem. They sometimes consider sexual assault or rape as part of the college experience. It's just going to happen at some point, so it's no big deal. Of course it's a big deal. So we're really needing to go back to, this is wrong, this is what it is, this is how we're looking for it, please report it, and let's talk about ways to have healthy relationships, healthy sexual relationships. And we're not making a judgment on whether our students are sexually active or abstinent or whatever they choose, that's fine. We just want any sex that happens among our student population to be consensual, which means enthusiastic, affirmative, sober, and voluntary agreement to partake in sexual activity.
So are the messages that you're giving to young women different from the messages, Angela, that you're giving to young men?
Yes and no. Because if we have a group of just women, then we do tailor it to their needs. But really quickly, one of the other messages that we do give to the young women when we talk to them, aside from, you know, this is a problem, is if it happens, it's not your fault. Right. Because a lot of times there is the victim blaming and, you know, things like that. And so that goes back to what you were saying earlier in terms of not reporting and also not seeking the appropriate services that they need. So then we definitely go through, and this is both men and women, what happens if it happens to you? What happens if it happens to your friends?
Well, that brings up something I wanted to get at, is that we often hear that young women should, you know, just don't drink so much and stop dressing in those tiny outfits and you'll be less likely to get raped. But that, you know, I've read a lot of pushback lately on that idea, saying it's not women's responsibility to keep men from raping them. So what is the responsibility for young men? What's the message that we want to give them?
Respect, consent, communicate, and that's for men and women. And we talk about that, and we say, because we bring up and we talk about rape myths and those, you know, women can prevent this, or in some way the victim could have prevented what happened. And so we start to deconstruct that and bring it back to, you know, societal norms, and talking to the men and saying, well, if they were drinking too much, what is your responsibility as a bystander, as an individual in society, to say this isn't right, and respect this individual and have the conversation and say, well, you know, I'm going to take care of you, call your friends, bring you home, something like that, and then I'll talk to you in the morning and see where you're at.
And then, that's another thing that we did too with the task force is we identified the training that was already going on, and then we aligned it using guidelines from the Office of Civil Rights. But then we also learned really quickly that different audiences, you needed to customize it. So we kind of deconstructed it, you know, where we aligned it, but then we customized it. So if the group is, say, just young women or young women in a sorority, you know, there's going to be a certain message there that's consistent with the other ones, but there's also going to be something that's just pertains to that particular student population. So there's some alignment going on, but there's some customization going on at the same time.
Summer,
yes,
tell us about one of the new phrases that we've been talking about recently, active consent. What does this mean?
Active consent, which we refer to as enthusiastic consent, means that when we're talking about sexual interactions, we're not looking for the absence of no to mean consent. We need the presence of an enthusiastic and affirmative yes. This sounds like a good idea. I'm into this. Let's keep going. That kind of thing. So when we're talking to our students, we kind of ham it up and make it a little over the top so they get the idea of what we're talking about, but we're really trying to get them to talk to each other, right, and have healthy communications about what they like, what they don't like, how far they want to go, how long they want to wait, and be really clear with each other so that there's no question about consent.
Do they find this a difficult thing to do?
Yes. I think our country, right, our society has a bit of an issue with talking about sex. I mean, which is really weird because sex is pervasive in advertising and media, but when it comes to our individual relationships, it's kind of like, well, no, of course we don't talk about that. Well, yes, we need to talk about that because, you know, we want people to become healthy adults and have healthy relationships, and communication is a huge part of that. And sometimes there can be some misunderstandings. So if we're not training people on how to read the cues or listen to the no and respect the no, like I teach my 5-year-old daughter, respect the no, that, you know, we're setting them up for some kind of messy areas that can lead to victims thinking, well, it's my fault I didn't say no. Well, that might be true. Maybe you didn't say no.
It's the perpetrator's fault that their partner didn't say yes.
Right, right. So what you need is a yes, but not a, okay, yes. A yes, this sounds fabulous.
That's very enthusiastic. That's a model that we're looking for. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. What is your best advice for parents in how to bring up this topic with their young students?
Be brave. Just talk. Just keep the lines of communication open. I think it's very a good idea to, when you're talking with college students, to not be accusatory about their behavior, but let them know there are resources available on campus. There are ways that they can learn to become part of the solution. We have a peer educator program being founded. We have a Start by Believing campaign.
But if you're just one mom saying to your son in a short conversation, because you're trying to keep it casual, what would you say?
I would say look out for your friends. Do the right thing. And if you see something going on that you know isn't right, because we've talked about this, do something. Call somebody.
We also have a website that we recently created called loborespect.unm.edu, and on there we have links for parents, families, friends, and it kind of outlines everything that we're talking about here definitions, what to look for, some bystander tips, and links and tools for parents, how to talk about this with their children and all of that. So it's kind of just a very one-stop shop.
It's probably one of the most comprehensive web pages out there in the United States. They did an excellent job, UCAM.
Thank you all for coming on the show today to talk to us about this.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.